Why is the restaurant closed?
Heading to your favorite restaurant tonight? Yeah, you may want to change your plans, as there's a slight chance that the beloved eatery of yours may not be around by the end of the year. These are some of the restaurant chains that are closing doors this year.
I'm afraid we're really gonna miss it.
Outback Steakhouse.
We're going someplace nice this time, not like last year when we went to the Outback Steakhouse.
What do you get if you love steak and also have a love for Australia? If you were thinking Chris Hemsworth in the kitchen, close, but not quite. Outback Steakhouse has been serving up juicy steaks, fluffy baked potatoes, and other assorted goodness, all with the charm from down under since 1988.
Because now it's an Outback Steakhouse.
So after more than 30 years in business, how could things go wrong? Well, unfortunately, 2025 is not shaping up to be a good year for the chain, as it had to close over 40 locations due to underperformance in 2024. Maybe it's not too late to see if Hemsworth can put down his hammer for a few minutes and get behind the grill to try to bring the patrons back to the endangered franchise.
What is that? Is that a bloomin' onion from Outback?
Denny's.
Then we meet at the Denny's.
Another iconic go-to chain, Denny's is usually one of the first stops for tourists, road trippers, and hungry folks just looking for a cozy, familiar spot to grab a bite. Denny's is as synonymous with Americana as burgers and cheesecake, which they just so happen to serve. Of course, the chain has expanded far beyond the U.S. and made it all the way to New Zealand.
Even New Zealand.
A night out at the local Denny's was all too popular for the better part of 70 years. But all good things must come to an end, seemingly, as the large chain was forced to close almost 60 locations in 2023. And 2025 doesn't seem to be any brighter, as the company estimates it will be closing more locations this year.
Denny's. It's always open.
Applebee's.
Applebee's.
Ooh, I have a coupon.
When thinking of fast casual restaurants that are both instantly recognizable and encompass America, a few places will likely pop into your head: Denny's, Cracker Barrel, and Applebee's. Yes, Applebee's has been a family go-to ever since it first opened its doors over 40 years ago. With specialty items like riblets alongside classic comfort foods such as burgers, pasta, and steak, the chain has enough iconic American cuisine to make your stomach sing the Star-Spangled Banner.
This is Applebee's. It definitely was overcooked.
Sadly, Applebee's best days are behind them, as the famous brand has experienced some economic hardship over the years, with 2025 expected to bring much of the same to the franchise. To date, the chain has closed the doors to 300 locations since 2017. While that number is definitely a cause for concern, it gets worse, as last year alone saw the closing of close to 50 locations. Sadly, expect to see even more Applebee's close up shop permanently this year.
But whoever that person is, you have to listen to their stories too, or they're not going to go to Applebee's with you.
First time here? Then go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on a new video. Thanks.
Thank you.
Burgerfi.
Fresh hot burgers, sexy burgers.
While McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King burgers are tasty, fast casual joints have a better track record when serving up what most people would consider a good burger. Luckily, establishments like Burgerfi are devoted to serving up a better burger. The chain started life in the state of Florida in 2011, and it didn't take long for the company to expand not only across the country, but also into different nations like the UK and Mexico. Taking a quick look at the menu, Burgerfi has, as you'd expect, a hefty assortment of burger options, like traditional burgers such as the Chef and CEO, veggie burgers, and chicken sandwiches.
They are delicious.
Oh, and if you happen to forget where you're eating, don't worry, as the Burgerfi logo is branded right on top of the bun. Over the years, the brand has developed a loyal following, so it was likely devastating for that following to hear that their favorite chain may be a thing of the past in the not-too-distant future. The chain has been experiencing some financial hardships this year, with a 13% decrease in same-store sales and a 6% drop in sales revenue in the first quarter alone. As a result, Burgerfi has closed down 8 of its locations. The franchise attributes the issues to bad weather in key markets and a challenging consumer market, whatever that means. Burgerfi does intend to open up as many as 15 new locations despite the brand's economic woes. Does this mean bad times are a thing of the past and gourmet burgers are here to stay? Keep those greasy, cheese-covered fingers crossed, Burgerfi fans.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Buca Di Deppo.
Mamma mia! a Buca Di Deppo.
Italian food kind of gets everything right. Deliciously filling carbs? Check. Savory sauces and gooey, tangy cheese? Double check. From pizza to pasta to panini, Italian food covers all the delicious bases. So it's no wonder that fast food joints and restaurants have been serving up Italian cuisine for decades. However, none of the other Italian joints can laugh at themselves and be in on the joke quite like Buca Di Beppo. The fast casual Italian chain was started by a non-Italian and given every stereotypical Italian trope and cliche depicting Italian-American culture.
I always dreamed of living inside a Buca Di Deppo.
In bad taste, but 100% intentional and meant to be lighthearted and fun, Buca Di Beppo did eventually get a bit more serious and less exaggerated. The chain, which first opened its doors in the early 90s, has grown to include several locations across the country and eventually became a subsidiary of Planet Hollywood. However, much like the series finale of The Sopranos, things aren't looking so great for the franchise. Unfortunately, the chain has been closing up select locations for years at this point, and the trend sadly continues today. Just this year, the chain decided to close 13 locations that were underperforming. California, Utah, Michigan, and New York were the unfortunate states to lose their local Buca Di Beppo. With all the recent location closings, fans of the franchise may soon need to look elsewhere for their fast casual Italian food fix.
In a dumpster behind Buca Di Beppo last night.
Noodles Company.
You were really dreaming about noodles?
Fast food is beloved without a doubt. However, even the most die-hard burger fiend gets bored with the same old thing. Luckily, the fast food landscape is filled to the brim with variety. Pizza and tacos and shawarma, oh my, right? Well, even those delicious little tidbits get old after the 200th slice. Better still, the wonderfully diverse world of pasta is just as popular today as it's ever been. Pasta is one of the most versatile foods out there, so it was only a matter of time before another franchise came along to capitalize on the country's love of the stuff. And the Colorado-based Noodles Company was the franchise to make pasta its crown jewel in the mid-90s. Pastas galore and many other noodle dishes were and continue to be the chain's bread and butter. Noodles and sauce.
Some reason I saw noodles.
Of course, Noodles Company isn't exclusively in the pasta business, as the chain dishes out equal amounts of familiar favorites. Unfortunately, Noodles Company isn't in good company, as the chain announced earlier this year that roughly 20 of their locations are underperforming. This, of course, means that the closing of these restaurants will be under consideration before the end of their leases. To make matters worse, the chain has stated that the closing of 10 to 15 locations is all but certain. But Noodle Company hopes that the closing of the underperforming locations will allow the company to focus and improve on the existing locations. This isn't the first time the chain has dealt with hard times, as its first few months in operation were rather rocky, with the restaurant nearly going bankrupt. However, noodle fanatics across the nation will be knocking on wood, hoping that Noodle Company will continue to serve up the good stuff.
Noodles. Don't noodles.
TGI Fridays.
Wonderful TGI Fridays.
Friday is the day when many like to mark the end of the week by going out to their favorite restaurant. And for many folks out there, there's no better place than TGI Fridays. When Friday is in the name, you know the place is all about a fun-filled atmosphere and a leave-it-at-the-door motto when it comes to work and other distractions. The casual dining chain first opened its doors in New York City almost 60 years ago and has expanded throughout North America as well as the rest of the planet. It's not unusual to see such classic items like your standard burgers, ribs, and other assorted goodness on the franchise's menu.
What a delightful menu!
However, if you've visited a TGI Fridays at least once in your life, you've likely sampled their famous loaded potato skins. Unfortunately, if you haven't had a chance to fill your mouth with the famous appetizer, you may not get the chance, as the chain is experiencing hard times. TGI Fridays kicked off the new year by announcing the closure of 36 locations due to underperformance in various markets across the U.S. TGI Fridays has stated that it believes the closing of a number of its lackluster locations will help in the chain's ongoing efforts to strengthen its franchise model. Well, in the meantime, TGI Friday fans will be keeping their collective fingers crossed and are promising not to eat at another chain if their beloved franchise ends up closing all its locations for good. Now, okay, that last part has not been confirmed.
Want to hit up
TGI Fridays with me?
Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel has a gift shop.
Poor Cracker Barrel. It seems like the fast casual family eatery keeps making news for all the wrong reasons: restaurant closings. However, back in the day, when you thought of a wholesome family restaurant that wasn't too pricey and had options galore, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who didn't suggest Cracker Barrel. The iconic sign and rustic look had a way of welcoming families with open arms before filling their stomachs with plenty of traditional Southern cuisine. Unfortunately, this isn't back in the day, and the chain has been on a steep decline, with 2024 being one of its worst years so far. Back in April, the franchise was forced to close 4 locations located in California, South Carolina, and Oregon. The Oregon location, in particular, is devastating to fans of the chain up in the Pacific Northwest, as it was the last remaining location in the state, with the other 3 closing back in 2023. The chain has cited a decline in customer traffic as one of the reasons for the recent closing of locations around the country.
I don't want to go!
And this seems to only be the beginning. The once mighty franchise that prided itself on serving up good old-fashioned down-home country goodness is quickly becoming a thing of the past. Remember those old-time photos you could have taken where you look like you're from the Old West? Maybe head down to your local Cracker Barrel and take a few selfies in front of the restaurant so you can tell your kids, "Yep, that was me in front of ye old Cracker Barrel back in the 20s. Those were the days." Or not.
This one really don't want to talk about Cracker Barrel.
Hooters.
It's about the Hooters.
Ah, yes, the chain that serves up piping hot wings, cold beer, and, shall we say, eye-catching distractions. The iconic sports bar has managed to spread across the country since first opening its doors in Florida back in the early 80s, and the rest of the nation has been thankful ever since. As you'd expect, any successful franchise is nothing without its brand recognition, and Hooters is no exception. The chain's signature owl with strategically placed large eyes is instantly recognizable and is plastered on countless forms of merch, both sold in-house and on the company's website.
Why do I like Hooters?
An eye-catching brand, hot wings, and the obvious star attraction, the servers. What else does a successful franchise need? Apparently, more than what Hooters is offering, because the popular chain has seen better days. Hooters closed many of its locations across 5 states last year, with some local media outlets speculating that the number could be as high as 40 as of this past June. The problems stem from difficult market conditions the chain encountered even before the unpleasantness of 2020 and the global lockdown. While spokespersons have stated that the brand remains highly resilient and relevant, the closing of several locations is never a good sign. Time will tell if the franchise's optimism is misplaced. So if you've got a hankering for some hot wings and a smile, you may have to rush down to your local Hooters before it closes its doors for good.
I didn't know women went to Hooters.
Red Lobster.
That Red Lobster hates me.
Seafood, oh glorious seafood. With the myriad of options, there's usually something for everyone. While this may be true, surprisingly, there aren't many seafood chains out there. This is one of the many reasons Red Lobster managed to become so popular. Garlic butter shrimp, the lobster, surf and turf, and those delicious cheese buns are just some of the tasty little surprises waiting for seafood fans wanting to experience the briny deep without getting wet.
Seafood, I know a good seafood place.
At one time, Red Lobster had hundreds of locations across the U.S. and overseas as far as the Philippines. But a recent closing of nearly 100 locations means that the world's largest seafood chain may be joining the megalodon and plesiosaur and becoming extinct. After filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in May of 2024, maybe pay a visit to Red Lobster, just in case it's your last.
When I grow up, I'm gonna eat lobster every night.
At BabbleTop, we're serving up great videos 24/7, so stay right here to keep watching.